Well, that was interesting.
Wow,
Despite
here we are.
some goofy technical difficulties, basically our streaming platform just completely desynced from everything spontaneously. Don't you love it?
It's fine.
It's just
No
a
problem.
mere 12-minute delay, but we are back and better than ever. Not only us, but 100 Thieves LCS. Everybody, happy summer 2021. What a great weekend it was. Look, blanket statement. We're just going to GA game 1. All right?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't count.
There's jet lag. There's being in studio lag. Just game 1 just doesn't count. So we're, the only thing we're concerned with is a 2-0 start, baby.
Woo! Just like old times, Cole. We won both games this weekend. Love it. You love to see.
You love it. 2-0. That's exactly what we started. Charlie from Immortals in chat is very disappointed to hear that. Sorry, Charlie. All right. So we'll try and pick up the pace here because of the delay again. We apologize, but this is Hunter Talk. This is our LCS show, talking 100 Thieves LCS only. None of those other weak teams. I'm Cole. That's Jordan. And we're not league experts, but we're fan experts. And we love what we do, talking about 100 Thieves. And it's a fun time to be doing that. Kelsey already in chat asking if this is the Academy episode. Kelsey, I don't know if you saw, but we already did our Academy content for the week by appearing on TSM's video. I think you were in that one too. So.
Yeah, count it.
Oh
Trying to make
man!
the most of that buff.
Oh man! Welcome everybody. Welcome to a new era. Jordan. Here's where I wanted to start. Look, and look, I made the joke that we're GAing game 1. We will talk about it, but I don't want to start there. Okay. You know what? One of the things I was most happy with from this weekend is that it felt like for the first time as a 100 Thieves fan, we set the meta this weekend, did we not?
It felt an awful lot like it, Cole. And you know what? I'm not used to seeing it. I'm going to need a little bit more before I can get a good sense for if this is what it feels like. But I think we did. And are.
Yeah. I just like, we felt historically like, oh man, our meta read was off. Oh dang. It's like, oh, like we tried something, it wasn't the right move, and then we have to like catch up and adapt. Look,
well, let me tell you how it felt for me. It was always like, oh man, new champs out, totally busted. Permaban, right? How many times have we seen that? And it's amazing to see what we saw, where we are now the team. And even the team that people are talking about, are we going to see bans specifically catered to this team next week? When was the last time, Cole, you've said that sentence?
Yeah, the honest answer may not fit with the thing, because didn't we see some like Galio bans after Demonte's lock-in tournament? Anyway,
it's because they're scared.
We're gonna take a new tactic here, new approach. Yep. But look, if I'm gonna be honest, like it wasn't what I expected to see Abbedagge on in week 1, right? I didn't expect 3 Karma games. If you would have had me predict the first 3 champions for Abbedagge, I think the triple Karma would have been permutation like 4,000 or so.
Right.
In my
1,200 odds on that one.
My power rankings of his first 3 champions, that would be like 4,000 on the but after the whole thing just kind of didn't really work in game 1, but it's just like a nice subtle adjustment with the jungle pick, and we found something that really seemed broken, right? And it's not like, look, we're gonna start talking about Abbedagge obviously because he's the new guy. He's like, don't want to get too involved in it, but he's like the savior, right? Like he's like what we're all counting on to get us to Worlds, and he comes out on like a support champ, basically like support Karma.
Right.
Look,
right.
It worked though, man, and it's not like it's just him. We're focusing on him. Ssumday popped off. FBI and Huhi did not miss a beat from where they've been, and Closer seems to be having somewhat of a resurgence once we got him off the Udyr. So, dude, like, what a surprising way for this weekend to go down. Could not be happier though. And look, I don't know if we were literally the first to play Xin Zhao in NA, over the weekend, we probably weren't. So I watched all the games Saturday and Sunday, but I didn't see all the Friday games. But that pick proved to be a copyable pick as well, and especially paired with the mid Karma, which I'm sure we're either going to see lots of bans or lots of more playing of that champion in the upcoming weekend. But dude, how nice is it to start off on that foot, making everybody play catch up, and knowing that that's probably not like, you know, the one trick Abbedagge Karma, like that's probably not the situation. This is probably like a mere distraction with the other things waiting, right? It's like, that's so freaking exciting. I can't, like, we made the point that when Abbedagge was signed, we had so much hope, like genuine hope about what was to come. You know what I mean? And like, this is like an extra level of that. It's like, look, this isn't the full end of split target for what he's doing, and it's already something that's broken and awesome.
Yeah, this is the insurance policy, right? This is where you have high hopes for something amazing happening, and then you get hit with something else that is entirely delightful, and you haven't even had a chance to try to feel excited about the thing you were excited about initially. It's the icing on the cake. Yeah. It's him doing a magic trick and then saying, and now I'm wearing your watch, right? And it's like, you could try to prepare for Karmadagge if you want, but it's, you know, is that wise? Because there are a lot of different ways historically that he's beaten teams. And I'm sure that those are not ways he has forgotten how to do.
Right.
So it's quite a conundrum, I think, for especially Cole. Do you remember when we were a team in the LCS who didn't have a lot of answers in the mid lane?
Yes.
Let's not forget, this is not a position that LCS teams are overflowing with solutions at. And I think so this is great. This is really, really great from not only a confidence perspective, but a strategic one as well. Like, geez, you have every card in your hand still, and they're all being held very close to the vest, except for the one that has Karma on it, and that everyone knows you're holding it, and they still haven't found a trump card for it.
Yeah. And, you know, I saw a few comments in the chat, so we should mention this. Yeah, obviously, like, when the way game one went, it was super disappointing. And when we saw, like, you know, I think everybody was making a comment about how troll is it to have Abba like make his debut on the Karma pick. Oh, that was so bad. And then to see it get locked in for game two, it was like, what are we doing? Right? Like,
the salty run back.
There for sure was an element of that for me. And I'm sure for like all of 100 Thieves Reddit, which I don't read very often anymore because of how much of a roller coaster it is sometimes there. But yeah, like, man, it was quickly proven to be a thing, and kudos to the squad and Reaper for sticking to that after the result of game one. It was like, no, we're good. Trust us. Yeah. We're good. We're gonna pair it with Xin Zhao. It'll be better. We're good. Don't worry. Don't panic. You know what I mean? Like, it's just such a different feeling to have at the beginning of the split, because I think we all had an existential moment of fear thinking it's going to be like it's been in the past, where it's like, oh no, it didn't work. Now we're doing it again. This is going to be a disaster. We're going to get memed, you know, like, I don't know.
In years past that has been it, right? It's like, hey guys, we have a look and we're going to play it until we can find a new look, which maybe is next year, right? It's dependent on some things happening in this 6 to 18 month window that we're feeling optimistic about. I am like you. I think you love to see the wins. You love to see the play. For me, I think one of the things I was most excited about is that we had an idea in our heads and we didn't abandon it after it really looked bad. I mean, we looked very toothless in that first game. And I think it was just I think it was a configuration error, right? Like, we just didn't have enough threat and we didn't have enough damage in the team. I think there are some smart things that Immortals did to counteract it. And Immortals has shown themselves to be a very capable team this weekend, at least in the early going of Summer Split. So, you know, a capable team that prepared well, maybe, or just had an answer ready when they saw what we were drafting. And so we just didn't get going. We never got going. We didn't have enough damage. There were no threats, you know. So
Man, it's I just want to call it, you know, that Russian phrase that I've told you about, where it's like the first pancake is always like messed up, right? The first pancake's wrinkly. Like that's you know, that's all it was. Second one's great. It's interesting though to hear you describe our game one as kind of toothless, right? Because like funny enough, like that the opposite of that, whatever that is, the opposite of toothless, toothful. Firepower maybe. That's what we were for the rest of the weekend. Like that is the thing that I would focus in on more than anything else, is just like an absolute no fear, play confidently, aggressively, and play to fight attitude that was shared among the whole team for those other two games. Like it was a total course correction from game one. There was no panic. And that just makes me like feel so happy about the job that Reaper is doing, and the job that, you know, whoever is going to emerge as this team's leader, you know, in whatever way, like among the players, like, you know, just the level of calm and confidence, man, to turn it around and play that way right after, you know, kind of fumbling in game one. It's just it's just another thing to check on like your wish list for like how, if you're assembling like the perfect team, what characteristics do you want to have? You want to have confidence and resilience and, you know, no panic button, that sort of thing. Like, like it's hard to think. I mean, obviously winning the Immortals game would be a way to have like a better start. Right. But other than that, it's like, there's a lot of things that happened this weekend that were super positive for us as fans. And a lot of reasons to be optimistic about the team.
And look, people have called me an optimist before. I'll even say this: if you win the Immortals game, we have more questions about this roster than we do if they don't. We haven't spent a single second talking about, are we a one-dimensional team?
Yeah.
Right. Is there only one way we can win? Yes, this was a great start, 3-0, but maybe it's just because of the karma. And, you know, like, you could ask those things, but I for me, it's, you know, we've seen that teams can beat the karma and the rest of the team that surrounds it. And the nice thing is we can still play and win with it, right? So it's like, even though we're not solved, like we played a very similar approach in games 2 and 3 for the weekend. And it wasn't like teams just said, oh, very simply, we'll ban this champion and then good luck with the rest of what you're doing because it all falls apart. I mean, if they ban Karma, we're probably going to have a different look. But the nice thing is we'll have had time to prepare that look. And we have players who can do a lot of other stuff. So, you know, like that's one of the things you gain from that, right? With losses, you learn a lot about a team and their limitations. And I think what we learned from this one is what we've said so far, along with, I guess, the key takeaway for me is we're not just like a roving band of players looking for that thing that works. We've landed well on this one. And I'm guessing it's because in scrims, they felt really good about it. And they had one game that didn't go well. And they said, that's just one game. Let's run it back. Not only that, let's run it back against Cloud9. Right? Like, it wasn't like you had Golden Guardians the next day who also beat Cloud9 and said like, this is a free win, and so we'll do whatever we'd like. They hit it back. That's a lot of confidence. It shows a lot of confidence.
It was the Reaper revenge game, right?
Yes.
it's playing the old team, you know, and that makes it all the more impressive, you know, coming out in that way. As Math Geeks pointing out in chat, El Blásico, right? It might not be that way anymore. This may be the split that turns it around for us. Look, we're obviously so it's so interesting because we have our eyes on Abba so closely. But as I mentioned, like all the other things that the players were doing this weekend, I thought were like on the whole really, really good. And one of the things that we have to talk about up front is one of the storylines we had pinned for, you know, let's pay attention to this. Here's what we're watching as the split starts. And that was Ssumday's trajectory.
Oh,
you know, we don't have to remind everybody that the the end of the split for Ssumday was not not the right trending pattern that you'd want for a player of his caliber, right? Some real struggles, and it was uncharacteristic. It was surprising, and we spent some time talking about, look, do we think he's going to be fine? We do, but still, there's cause for concern. Let's see how he reacts. Look, we saw more of the, like, I just killed everyone Ssumday this past weekend, and like, how nice to see it too when he's playing like against Fudge, who was kind of like, and with Freak casting, by the way. Freak, who did nothing over the past few months but sing Fudge's praises, like, oh, there's Fudge again. He is so much better. Oh, like that. That was basically Freak's casting style for the past little while. And so he gets to cast Ssumday solo killing Fudge in like minute 4.
Yeah.
Yep. Man, that was nice. That felt good.
Let us not forget, this is the same Fudge who came back from MSI, and I was like, he was one of the bright spots in the entire team. They benched the other bright spots, so think about that. But yeah, certainly, like, if Fudge is spiking from a power level standpoint, it's right now. And someday, if you are tracking from the end of last split, you're thinking, boy, if he's ever in a slump, this is it. So
yeah,
Fudge Ssumday, invert the trajectory on that one, and you have another magical moment where just straight out played him, just jumped on his head, and that was the end of that one. Yeah.
Right. And Freak, I think even the call was like, oh, the jump is perfect. He's dead. It was like, oh man, it felt really good. But yeah, and it wasn't just that. I mean, like, Ssumday he had a fine game on Gnar in that C9 win. Like, we smashed. As far as the KDA is concerned, that was more of a closer FBI function. But Ssumday was doing like excellent work, obviously, during that game. And then we just got to ramp it up for the third game against Dignitas, right? Where he pulls out the 200 years champ Gwen, takes Gwen top and just ruins everyone. He had like 3 or 4 kills within like 8 minutes or something like that. It was so fast that he just started stacking up those kills and really showing how out of control that champion can get with a couple kills early. And so you got to see like kind of the more supportive, kind of split pushy Ssumday. It wasn't like a full out split push or anything on the Gnar. And then you get to see the carry oriented Ssumday, like in those two things back to back in major wins at the start of a split.
Yeah.
Hello, Ssumday. Hello, kind boy. Welcome back.
Welcome back. We missed you, even though you were only gone briefly.
Yeah.
We missed you a lot. And yeah, I mean, it's like Riot made Gwen for him, right? Like, that champ, he was a menace. And let it not be lost, right? It was just some really good link up play in the topside jungle that got him that. I mean, it was a bit of good fortune, I think, right? That like every one of those kills in the middle of a fiesta landed on his lap. Just continue to buff up that Gwen. But he was there to clean up. He was cleanup duty. Some fantastic play from Huhi, I think, with the Braum, if I'm not mistaken, just to absolutely set the trap, and then Ssumday sprung it. Like, it's good. We could talk about everybody on this team right now, and we'll talk more about the players as we go. But I think that specific to Ssumday, right? When he was slumping and it was the most concerning is when it felt like he was just out of touch with the players.
Right.
The kind of crazy thing is you didn't switch every player. So the fact that he seems more in sync with the team is very encouraging at this point, and probably leads you to think that it has something to do with the strategy, the general, direction from the coach, how to play the game. Players are just kind of getting it. I mean, even like, I won't jump ahead, but yeah, like that is one of the things I picked up on. It didn't feel like there were a lot of desynced moments. I might be overlooking some, but for the most part, I feel like he and Closer played well together. And everybody, I think, has talked about how there have definitely been times where they've seemed out of touch with each other. So good stuff. Like, ganks, repeat ganks, just getting him advantages. Even if it's not a kill, it's the pressure in the lane. It's the summoner advantage, right? It's the things that allow Ssumday to be Ssumday. And that's exactly what you want to see at this point.
Yeah. And I think that it was a different way to get everybody on the same page. And I mean, I think in the Dignitas game, especially if I remember right, because like Dignitas came out with a few punches like that, you know, we had to actually come back to the Dignitas game and get back into it. And if I'm remembering right, I hope I'm not mistaken, because maybe it was the C9 game, but like we sent 4 or maybe even 5 bot like really early to salvage.
I think that was Dig.
Some plays. Yeah, that was Dig, right? Okay. Yep. And that's just a different way of getting that job done. Yeah, that's right. Because Ssumday got a double kill down there. I remember.
It was a double TP that we brought both Abba and Ssumday in, and in large part to deal with the Darius jungle, who was just really strong early, right? But exactly, I'll let you keep going. But yeah, that was that game. Yeah,
I'm just pointing out like what, like it's different than like, oh, okay, like how is our gank and our tower dive up top? You know, it's like, no, everybody down here right now, let's fight and get some kills.
Right.
We want to kill people. Right. It's firepower time. You know,
well, and that's, you got to do that, because I mean, they invested a lot. They won the first round of that fight, and we won the second and third rounds, right? Like that's, you know, in these games, you have to do that. You have to make sure. And there were other occasions too. Like I'm thinking about times where they invested a whole bunch into top side of the map to get a kill or a tower or something. And then you look at the other side of the map, it's just FBI farming an entire tower by himself. I'm like, well, okay, we'll take that. You know, that's fine for us. So that's the kind of thing. I mean, I do think like I've seen people say like, oh, lock in, you know, lock in. And it, to a degree, it does feel like that, right? Where you have the players playing their game, and you know, that for me, and to a degree, it's Ssumday, because I know we're talking about him right now. It's Ssumday just showing up and wrecking fights. Like that is what Ssumday does. That's who he is. You know, he needs some resource to be able to do that, because I think the Wukong was a good example where he just wasn't strong enough. He would spin around in the entire team and he'd knock everybody up twice and then get killed, right? It's like there's a different version of the Immortals game where he's a bit more fed and we win more of those fights, right? Like he had good setups and stuff. He just couldn't do anything. So for me, that's what I'm excited about with Ssumday, is it feels like he's back to his old ways, which is just getting scary Ssumday. Yeah.
His play wasn't without some errors, a couple mental lapses, right? A couple overextensions, but on the whole, man, I'm just so glad to see that dude back into a form that can play both the carry and the more off focus role. Like, man, I'm so optimistic about this. I want to back up to something you mentioned, because you called out the Braum pick that Huhi took. He played that in both the latter games. That's just more of like I don't know when the last time, like Braum is never like out of meta really, you know, I guess. But you know, it's been a while. Like I'm going through our champ select history all the way back to 2020 summer, and just on the first page of Gamepedia, we only have one Braum pick before this weekend across all of those games, and that was in the TSM series. It looked like from whatever the name of the tournament was for spring. But yeah, it's like besides that one game, like no Braum games. Huhi pulls it out. It looks great. It's super impactful. A couple of really, really critical ults, just like absolutely critical ults. A nice styling on him play right down in bot lane. Was that the Dig fight or C9? I think it was C9. I think it was a kill on Vulcan, maybe. I don't know, but
I think it was on Vulcan. Yep, on Leona.
Yeah, because the Varus arrow lands. It's not quite enough, and Huhi jumped and then flashed forward with the Q to finish him off. So clean, man. So when it comes to like setting the meta and like what the players are looking like, I don't want to pass over Huhi.
No, totally.
Really, we don't want to pass. Yeah, we don't talk about him enough. That's right, and that's why it's like I want to make sure I mention that. And look, all the players played very impactfully. Really was enjoyable to watch. But yeah, Huhi, I don't want to miss out on calling out what he was able to do and what the Braum pick was able to do for us. Dang,
I'll highlight a couple.
Yeah, go for it.
I think for me, the two best plays of the weekend for him was one where he face checked the river bush in bottom river.
Oh yeah, where there was 3.
They stacked up 3.
Yeah,
he instantly drops the shield and the ult, and it's like, that was just a big brain play, right? And you could tell it was all reflex, but that was like their desperation act. They were trying to get a pick. They're trying to get anything.
That was their get back into this one,
And instead, because he absolutely caught him, like he lived, he didn't even die.
Yeah.
It's so many times you see a support. Obviously, he's playing Braum, so that helps. But so many times you see a support where it's like, they make a big play, they sacrifice them. Like he gave them nothing. All they got for that was like probably 3 burnt ults and some summoners, and it was like he had to go back to like the fountain. Like that was it. Maybe he got an inopportune recall timing. So that one was massive because it was C9 desperately trying to get back into the game, and who was just like, nah, sorry, not this time. And the other one, I mean, it was a bit of counter jungling in the top side jungle. Like how he did this a couple times. He's just sitting up there in a bush. And it was honestly, I got echoes of the Lissandra game where he was just sitting up there.
Yeah,
it was
the
like
flank.
The same bush. I swear to you, it's the same bush. And it was like he was just counter jungling. He saw them trying to get our red. He's like, not gonna happen. He said, hey, Ssumday, kill that cannon and then pop down here for a little a little treat. A double kill for you. So he Qs one, he ults both of them. They line up. He gets a collat with the Braum ult. And it's just like, you got to be there. You have to be there, right? And people will talk about, it's not that hard of a play. They like boneheaded play. But if you're in bottom lane, that's a hard play to make, right? So that was Huhi being in the right place at the right time. And like, that's what it's going to take. That's what's going to take if we want to beat some of these teams who are trying to, get, kind of counteract our success, our strength. And turning that into our win condition is huge because those kills going to Ssumday, that kind of sealed the game. The game was basically done from that point on.
Yeah.
There's no stopping them.
Yeah. And to piggyback off that point you're making about like, the different strengths that we have and the different options that are available to us. It's like, if you are another team, like we're playing TSM, GG, and EG this weekend.
Can't wait.
If you're them, what are you doing to prepare right now? Because like,
Karma,
what do you know?
Screaming.
Yeah, exactly. What do you know? I mean, like look, they scrim, so they know some of the things we're doing, but it's like okay, we can't let the Karma pick slip through. We also can't let carry champions go through to Ssumday. We can't let any powerful champs down in bot lane go through.
Yeah.
And watch the jungle as well. It's like what do you do? You
like that Xin Zhao's looking good. Don't get that. Yeah.
It really feels like the way that we're starting off the split, we're going to be presenting like a lot of like preparation challenges where teams are going to have to figure out like make like which way do they want us to beat them is kind of what it's going to feel like, right?
Right.
And I, again, guys, I'm the king of understanding that this is week 1, right? And this is the first set of games. And by the way, we lost one of them. Like I get that, but I'm just saying like the cards that we played this weekend were unexpected, like, something totally like not what's in the normal plans for how we're going to play the game. Right. And so it's almost like free that we just did this. And now there's another successful thing that teams have to keep track of. So I like from a strategic perspective, this is what creative drafting can do. This is what creative or deep champ pools can do for you, right? You just cause preparation issues for people. It just gets exponentially harder the more you can prove I can play this way or that way,
Right.
So
yeah. There is no answer. That's easy on that one.
And while we're kind of contextualizing that, while I'm giving the disclaimer of yes, this is only week 1, yes, we should probably give some disclaimers about like who our opponents were too, right? Because C9, it's kind of hard for me to place what's going on with them, right? Because they lost to Golden Guardians, right? Like
Although it was a crazy loss, right?
Yeah.
They had beaten Golden Guardians and then they unbeat them. So it's like if you are counting that on what the game would be 99 times out of 100, it's a win.
Yeah.
And it looked pretty convincing, honestly. Like the thing they did is they didn't finish them off quickly enough so that the death timers were just too long. That's kind of how it went. I feel
control Z'd.
Yeah.
So that's weird that they lost, right? But the other thing is that like they beat Team Liquid pretty convincingly. Yeah. Like it wasn't a stomp. Like it wasn't comparable to say 100 Thieves C9, but like they beat them, pretty convincingly. And Team Liquid is a good team. Like I don't care what anyone says. Yeah. Even with Jenkins, like that's a good team, man. And they're gonna be good, by the way. Like I still think C9 and Team Liquid are gonna be right at the top with us. So it's hard for me to exactly place where everything is. Like what the King piece is a big question mark too. Like okay, what's going on there? But I feel like I want to say like they're a good team and we got a quality win. Like it didn't look like us taking advantage of like a bad C9 to me. It looked like us playing well, and that's kind of the point I want to make. And Dignitas too is kind of similar. Like they beat EG and then they like really beat down FlyQuest. But they looked like a pretty good team. Like they looked like a quality opponent. Like I wouldn't put them in the top tier or whatever, but they looked like a quality opponent. And after a quick few punches in the first round against us, we came back and really put it on them. You know what I mean? So I'm trying. The reason I'm bringing this up is like, yes. So these are week 1 results. Cool. How do we figure out like how good we think we're going to be? And to me, it feels like quality opponents, like even Immortals. Actually, let's use this conversation. We'll have this conversation, then we'll kind of move back into Immortals because we got to talk about that too. But Immortals like looked like they played pretty dang well against us. You know what I mean? So to me, I'm feeling like not only did we get wins this weekend, but we got them against really good teams. So
I mean, if you look at the standings, this is a very tough weekend to open with. Immortals, after winning 3 this weekend, I think they're 10-11. Like they're in the top. I don't know where they stand. I can look up the standings, but your point is there, which is these are 3 good teams, and we looked really good. We didn't eke out a win. I think the wins were 25-ish minutes. And they felt decisive. And the thing I wanted to bring up is specific to Cloud9. I mean, this is kind of what we talked about before we played this team. Like, there's a chance that someday Goomba stomps Fudge, and he did. There's a chance that Closer, look, Blabber is the question mark in a lot of people's minds for C9. Like he didn't look good at MSI. And
he had a rough MSI.
So that is the question, right? And I think that in a lot of these fights, Closer was the more valuable jungler to have. There were a lot of 2v2s around the mid lane, I think, which left Perks at 0-6, right? And a big part of that was that Closer and Abba were just working really well together. Like the play where Perks flashes into Xin Zhao's waiting arms was beautiful and devastating. But again, you gotta be there if you're Closer. You cannot be on the blue buff when he flashes, because if he is, your mid laner is dead and it's over by the time you get there. So he was there, like he was where he needed to be, and that was a big brain play because they knew that he wanted to flash and stun, and they were ready for it. So that's what we talked about, right? And you look at the bot lane, FBI is just better, and Huhi is also better, and then the whole thing, like the coach question we talked about as well. I think Reaper is a better coach than Mithy, and I think that showed. So, all this stuff is like, look, am I surprised? I predicted that we would beat C9, and we did. And I didn't ace predictions, but I was as close as you were, so that feels good. Because you're pretty good at that. So yeah, like for me, it doesn't feel. I'm not surprised, and I think that's saying a lot because C9 is a really good team. And what is starting to become clear, and again, week 1 disclaimer, is that at least in the first 3 games we've seen us play, we also have a really good look. The question will become whether we can sustain that, whether we can do it as teams get to know us better. But for right now, it worked, I think, probably beyond expectations.
Yeah. And yeah, and it's like, it feels different from the previous split in that we all kind of felt like, all right, we got our one thing working, and when that thing is blocked off, we don't know what's next. It's kind of a question mark, Doesn't feel that way at all right now. Shout out, by the way, to Reaper, who has joined right after we were singing his praises for so long. His ears were burning.
Google alert.
But let's talk quickly about Immortals. Just because, that game, I don't know. It's hard to know what to make of it. I'm trying to look at how do we contextualize that? Because there's the obvious thing that I already mentioned about okay, very first game, they're back in studio for the first time. Probably feels weird in that way. They haven't had much time to practice with Abba, right? It's not like, he's been practicing for 3 days or whatever, as some of the LCS teams have had to do with their rosters. But at the same time, it's not like they had him during the whole break to work with.
Right.
So I'm trying, what are the takeaways here from this game? I'll toss one out that I kind of think may be a thing that we can kind of learn from, or that we did, honestly, and then see if you have any ideas. The thing for me was how quick we were able to make a tweak to the Karma plan. That to me is what I'm really taking away from that game. Because again, I think we already established Immortals looked like they were playing very well this weekend, way better than we expected as LCS fans as a whole. But for me, it's from in between that game where we have, let's see, let me pull up the draft here. We had Wukong, Udyr, Karma, Ezreal, Leona, right? Mm. You mentioned it's oh man, we're kind of light on damage, right?
Yeah.
Wukong, as we saw, who was it? Was it actually C9? Who was it that played Wukong and actually popped off at the end of a really long game, won an unexpected team fight? I can't, off the top of my head, I'm not remembering who it was.
Licorice.
Was it Licorice? Yeah, it was Licorice. Yeah. I remember seeing that and be whoa, yeah. There's Wukong, right?
he Ssumdayed him on that one. That was a Ssumday play.
Yeah. But yeah, just so that kind of top side of the map, being able to get that feedback quickly and be okay, here's the plan.
Yeah.
And especially in the jungle, to make that tweak was just it feels like in past splits, we would need the entire week to make that adjustment and not to be able to make that overnight from Friday to Saturday. Right.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's something one of my takeaways that I'm feeling really good about is coming out of that match that way.
Yeah. Let me add to that. So variations on a theme has never been a strong suit for us, right? It has been, here's the recipe, follow it, and we'll get some wins, right? But it's generally been, we find the way that we can beat a team, and we do our best to keep that, kind of that lineup intact. And for me, again, I talked about this a little bit, but I guess a different way to highlight it is, it felt like from game 1 to game 2, it wasn't just it wasn't a run back, right? There were enough different pieces. It was a very different feeling team that it felt like a variation on the theme, which I think is actually really important, right? Because it means that if somebody solves iteration A, you might still have B and C waiting in the wing, right? And I think that's what we kind of saw, right? That's super valuable, because then you don't have to scrap all of your prep time, because it's well, shoot, that was plan A, B, and C for the entire weekend. So I'm not really sure what we do from here, but I think we have to just pick the number 1 ranked champions on op.gg and hope that it works.
Yeah.
Like, who are people playing? So like, I think that's, for me, that is the reason that I look at the Immortals game and I think, great, we tried some things, didn't work. I mean, and look, we just indexed more towards, it was less poke and setup and more damage, right? It's just like more brawling, team fighting. So I'm not mad to see us try that look. I definitely, and we talked about FBI on Ezreal in the past. Like, I don't think that's his number 1 style of champ. I like to see him with a champion where he can kind of single-handedly take over a team fight. But he's still our
pretty
best
dang good. Yeah,
in that game.
Say, I was like, even that, so, I was like, it's better than I was expecting from him. You know?
Yeah. No, like, and that's that. I think that is the ever-present testament to FBI, the quality of player he is. Even in a game that we have no chance in, there are fights that he almost wins. Because he is who he is.
That's what I was kind of thinking to myself. I was like, you know, he may be. And I don't want to take Huhi out of that equation too. I feel like our bot lane may be like the most consistent thing we've ever had. You know,
those guys,
like those guys are really good on a consistent basis. And it's not quite like, Tactical had an Ezreal game that was like unbelievable this weekend. Yeah. Wasn't quite that level, but it was very good. It was better than, you know, I was kind of hoping for, seeing how that game went. Again, it's like every negative that I can bring up has some kind of silver lining built in, and it's just this new feeling. So I don't know what it's like. 100 Thieves LCS, man, it's new, but I'm loving it.
It feels new.
I'm so excited, man. I'm so excited. Yep. Anything else you want to mention from the Immortals game? Like, I don't know. I predicted a win for us there. You know, I predicted loss against C9, win against Immortals, dig. It didn't really shake out that way, but but yeah, they looked good. Ssumday was player of the week, right? Revenge to me was killer all weekend.
I was gonna say he was my standout player.
Yeah, he just seemed to mess up everything. Like all the time, it's like, dang man, stop it. Stop it. So Charlie
was really dialed in.
Yeah, and Charlie's in chat. Charlie, credit where credit's due, man. You guys look really good.
Get that guy on camera. We need to hear from him.
Yeah, for sure. Look, let's go to do you want to go to listener takes? We had a few.
Sure.
Some of them were kind of interesting. Let's start. Actually, I don't know where I want to start. Let's go to Envious TT. Okay. This, if you are on Twitter, MVP, which one? Embiid season, I think, is this guy Envious TT in chat, who asks, is Reaper going to try and shift away from Zig's huge bot focus by allowing Ssumday to carry? And he says, disregarding an ugly Friday performance that arguably could have been Ssumday's best performance since last summer or among the best. And talking about the Gwen game in particular. I'll say this. It did definitely feel like that was what emerged as the focus over the course of the last split. It was like, look, we're going to play through bot lane.
Yeah. Yep.
And so the question is Reaper going to shift away from the bot focus by allowing somebody to carry? I think what we're seeing is that Reaper is going to shift the focus all the time. Like, you know, like I get the feeling that, you know, his whole deal about like, let's let the players play the way they want to play. Like, I don't think he means that just for one or two of them, you know? Right. I think he means that for all of them. I think we're going to see different setups that highlight different players, and we're going to be able to deploy them at will. Like, that's really where I see this thing going. I agree that, you know, this is one of the best Ssumday performances we've had in a long time. And it's again, out of the gate to lead with something like that in the first weekend. It's a huge positive for the team. So I would agree, I guess, in general, that I think we're not like all the way. Like it's not, I don't think we're going to land in Ssumday carry all the time, but I do think that we're breaking out of that. Like, let's just focus bot, you know? Yeah.
You know, that's a really, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole here on other leagues and stuff, but I was listening to Riff Reaction earlier, and they were talking about
which one's Riff Reaction? Other leagues.
If that's not the name, I'm sorry. It's the new one from Travis and Emily.
Oh, there's new Spotify pod. I haven't listened.
Yeah.
Thanks for the reminder. Yeah.
There's only a couple. I listened to the last week's one, which I realized is about as old as it can get now because the entire week is done. But the point is, they were talking about all these players from they kind of cover all regions, and there's so many players who have, like, the comment kept coming up, demands a lot of resources, right? There are disagreements in the team about how it should be played, that they didn't feel like they were the focal point enough, and so they had to bench people. There's a lot of drama in League of Legends rosters. There's a lot of potential for that. It's an interesting thing, right? It's like, who gets to take the shot? Who's the guy who gets to take a shot? Only one guy can take the shot in a possession, unless you miss. So, but that, for me, that's the thing, right? It's like, right now, this seems like a team that is very happy to pass the ball. And I think that is an incredibly valuable attribute to have. I mean, clearly, Abbedagge is just fine to collect some wins, right? Like, he is playing a game right now. Look, high-powered mid laner coming through, playing what the team needs. That's so valuable. That is so valuable. And he's having fun with it, right? And, like, nobody wants to play the same champion every game for an entire season. But right now, if your team looks the way we look when you're playing this champion, he seems like the kind of guy who's going to raise his hand. And if Karma's open, so how about Karma, right? Like, she's pretty good. So yeah, like, I think that's right. And what we saw, right, was we saw Ssumday on a 2-1 and 8 Gnar, which he didn't even take over the game as Gnar. Like, there weren't multiple game-winning ults from him. It was more used as almost like a chase down tool.
Yeah.
And a Varus that absolutely snapped, and then a Kog'Maw, right? Like, it's just a very different look from what we're used to. So for me, that is the thing. I think you're right. It's that we're going to see different looks, and that's one of the hardest things to prepare for in a team. Because if you know who's going to take the shot, you just stand closer to him, right? Like, you double team him. You make sure he can't get a good look. We're not that team.
Yeah. Okay, want to move to this one from Nightstar 451. Shout out to Nightstar who let me know on Twitter that he is converted from TSM fandom over to 100T fandom, and has been a long time pod listener. So shout out to Nightstar. He asked, what are your thoughts on the casters as well as certain co-streamers' comments about Abbedagge's Karma picks? I saw many comments on how 100T spent big for him to only play supportive champs. Not much different from the DeMonte days. Now, if there are people making these comments, you should unfollow. You should not listen to these people. All right? That's what I'm going to tell you right now. First of all, there are at least a couple problems with this, right? Number one, week 1. All right, we literally have not seen him play anything else, and we've still won. All right.
Yeah.
This does not mean this is the end vision for how we're going to use him. So, yeah, you can go ahead and dismiss that. The other thing about that is, like, look, 100T spent big for him. Cool. Mm-hmm. Did we win? Okay. Like that. Like,
also yes. Yeah.
So like, who cares if, like, you spend a ton of money on a player, use him in a particular way, and you still win? Like, honestly, like, if that's the deal, I don't care. Like, to me, it doesn't matter what the use is if the result is win-win-win, you know, and that's hopefully what we're looking at here.
Well, and I think there's for me, there's kind of a second part to that question, which is, could a less skilled mid laner do this same thing? And I think the answer is no. Obviously, I don't know that because we haven't played with any less skilled mid laners in this lineup. But he is very good at this game and at mid. And he's playing Karma really well. So it's kind of like, what is the point of asking that question unless what you're trying to say is, I could do that. You might as well hire me for $18 an hour and I will do that for you. And it would be just as good, because it wouldn't. And that's why we didn't. And, you know, if anything, it probably makes him more valuable, honestly, because it means that there are many different facets to his play. One of them being you turn the entire team into a turbocharged killing machine that can't die, right? Like that. Okay. That feels pretty good. I'd pay $1 million for that. I would do that if I were running a league team. If you could present me with those options, I would sign up for it. So I think that's what it comes down to for me. It's like, you know, what's the alternative? That you pay less money and get a mid laner who can't help your team win as well. That's not a great option.
Yep. I'm going to go to a live chat take, which is not something we usually do, but Militime said this week 1 hype feels a lot like lock-in. And then said, yeah, I pointed out that the forecast for Abbedagge is probably a bit different than the forecast for Damonte, and his response reminds me of Damonte's dominant Galio. So I see the parallel here, right? Like you've got the mid laner playing a specific champion in a specific way, and the team looks great doing that. And then like things gradually unraveled. The style was figured out, dissected, and prevented. Okay. So along those lines, cool. Like I get your point. I just gotta say, man, if I'm a betting man, I would bet that Abbedagge is going to do a little bit better in the LCS than Damonte, and he's going to have a different amount of styles to present. So that's what feels different to me. You know, that's why I'm so much more optimistic. I mean, like, I was the guy who predicted the week that Damonte would be subbed out. Like, I understand that. This, to me, though, like, feels different because it feels like we have the foundational mid lane piece, which is what I always call it. Jordan, your thoughts on Militime's take?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good take. It's a good question to ask. And you know, we got to make sure that we're not falling prey to the hype machine here.
Oh, I'm falling prey to the hype machine right now for sure. I'm embracing,
you know, like the hype machine is the one where it's not justified, right? So we got to make sure that we're not just getting carried away here because it's still early days, right?
Shout out Jordan. I just watched Friday Night Lights again, the movie last weekend, and they asked Booby Miles, you know, should we believe the hype? He's like, hype is something that's not real. I'm all real. I got to reface that with Abbedagge now.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait for that one. So yeah, I mean, look, it's early. It's early. We'll keep saying that every time it's week 1. We'll say it's early, whether it's good or bad. It's early. But for me, it does feel like there are more things here that feel promising.
Yeah,
we did get some good quality wins over good teams in lock-in too, so we shouldn't, you know, neglect that fact. And it was over, you know, multiple weeks. Was it? I don't know.
Lock-in, I can't remember how that format worked. I think it was.
In my mind, it was 2 weekends that we played during. But anyhow, I appreciate that because it's important, Miller. I appreciate it because we got to make sure that we're not getting carried away here. But I do think as I look at it, you know, just based solely on how those games went, there are, if we keep playing like this, which I have no reason to think we will stop, it seems like this is a good trajectory. And I think for me, the difference, maybe one of the main differences with lock-in is, I think with lock-in, what we found is that there was a way the team played that became less representative of the team as the season and split wore on. And based on, you know, what we heard Reaper say in his interview and what we're seeing in the games, I think there's every indication to think that this is exactly what he intends to do, right?
Yeah.
That for me feels like a difference. Like we never heard Zix say, yeah, you know, we have star players. We're going to make sure that we're putting them in a position to carry these games. Firepower, it's the name of the game. Like we just didn't hear it. And so I think there's a lot of questions like, dang, what is behind it? Right now, we're hearing everybody say, yeah, this is, we're going to let them loose and see what they do. And that Gwen looked pretty let loose. So.
Yeah. But yeah, so to me, it does feel different. And look, I'm not expecting that we're going to beat everybody from here on out either. and I'm also like, I'll just say like my own approach, my own attitude to watching this team, I'm going to have a longer leash for losses, you know, with this group of players, because to me it's just unimpeachably better. And I mean, you guys remember like even C9 had to kind of like get collected last split and like round into form. I expect us to have growing pains. I expect us to drop some games. So yeah, I'm not like, okay, cool, from here on we win out. I don't think that at all.
Right.
But yeah, so a little bit of caution, but at the same time, it's just like I think there are way more reasons to be optimistic. So we will see. But again, if I'm a betting man, I'm betting on Abbedagge having a wider champion pool, which I guess ties into Math Geek's question for this week. You said, how long do you expect the Karmadagge train to last? What other looks do you want or expect to see from the boys? And I mean, for me, it's like I want to say that like we're going to see teams banning it out against us next week. Looking at
which would be amazing, by the way.
So here's what I'll say. Like, so TSM is our first game. What I would say is that like I think like higher tier teams might not ban it out. Instead, they just might counter. But it feels to me like Golden Guardians, for example, who we play on Saturday, and maybe even EG, who seems to be stumbling. You know, they might just all out ban it out. Regardless, though, I don't think we're just going to see karma until, you know, the wheels fall off. I don't think that at all. Yeah. In fact, we'll probably go in the opposite direction pretty quick. Like, you know, if we see the Akali come out, I would be super hyped for that. Maybe a Silas, you know, like I think we're going to see some more carry oriented AP mid laners coming out from him pretty soon. So I think we're gonna have this style in our pocket for a while that people will have to account for. But I don't think we're gonna play this way until someone takes it away. I think we're gonna be pretty proactive with it personally.
Yeah. I mean, that like I'd say we're the best. I don't think this is even an argument. I don't even know if other teams are doing Karma right now. We're the team who's used Karma to the greatest effect so far.
In the mid lane, people use that as support. But
it'll be interesting to see if we get to a place where other teams start trying to use it and we have moved on to the next thing, right? That is what setting the meta is about. It's not that you just play what everyone else is playing better than them. It's that you're playing what everyone else will be playing in 2 weeks as they try to keep up. So that is what I'm interested to see. And it's going to happen when, you know, the patches hit, right? Like different champs and play styles will be possible. So that, you know, at some point, Karma, if she continues to be as dominant as she is, then they'll nerf her or an item that she's dependent on. So there's always a possibility for that. But yeah, like I said, I think if we start seeing teams ban Karma, that is, you couldn't ask for more, honestly. Because there's a couple champions that you're probably going to want to not have in the game. One of them is Gwen. I'm interested to see. Viego has been much more hit or miss than Gwen has. I think she's 100% pick ban rate. He gets through sometimes, doesn't always win. Yeah, I bet Ssumday can play Viego pretty well. That's my guess. So, you know, it'll be interesting. Like you can't right now, if you were designating one of your 3 initial bans to Karma, you have entirely neglected the bot lane. And potentially you are leaving open some pretty powerful picks in top, not to mention mid, right? So it's not a great place to find yourself if you were having to ban Karma. It's like when we had to ban Seraphine, was it every game?
Yeah. And as Dargo pointed out in chat, like Lulu mid lane is on deck too, right? Our academy teams pulled that out. So
can you imagine?
So we still have another supportive mid lane.
Imagine Gwen with the Lulu ult.
One more listener question we'll do from our old friend, Star Wars smuggler Kale Maldoran.
Kale.
He says, and this is we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but I do want to point it out because he mentioned a stat. He threw out a stat. We love stats. Oh, and just a quick aside, speaking of stats, our old friend AJ Beck is tracking caster records in our Discord. Excellent. So
yes, please keep that
things
up.
We love to see. So back to Kale's take. He says, is support option mid what we are to expect moving forward, which we kind of already talked about. But then he says, if so, should the feed focus be on closer or Ssumday? Because he says the weekend average for Abbedagge was 1.6, and 11. So that's the average KDA across the 3 games. Not necessarily carry numbers. So should the feed focus be, so it's given we play a supportive mid, should the feed focus be on closer or Ssumday? So if I'm me, I don't think there's like a really like a right answer here. You know, I think, you know, and maybe the feed focus or whatever should be bot, you know, I don't know. But I think like if it's me, what I want to do is prove that everybody is a threat, you know? And I think that goes along with what Reaper's preseason philosophy was of like, I'm going to take the muzzles off. I'm going to enable these players to be who they are. And I want to put them in contention for all LCS, right? So that I don't expect the support mid option to be like the thing that we do every time going forward, as I already mentioned. But when it comes to feed focus, spread the love around.
Yeah, make it that much harder to anticipate who you need to be worried about. Yeah, totally. I agree.
All right, let's do some predictions for next week, and then we'll wrap. Sound good?
Sounds excellent.
All right, Jordan, the very important one. TSM Game 1 Friday. What do you think?
I think we beat TSM. Yeah, we beat him.
Anything you want to add to that, or are you just going to go on the record with a dub?
Yeah. Look, I'm doing my stroll through their team. I continue to think we have winning lanes and matchups in key places right now. You know me, I have long been short on Huhi, and I think that if Ssumday is looking at anything,
my favorite thing from the show is Jordan's I don't get it with Huhi.
It's not even that I think he's a bad player or I dislike. I think he's got a really delightful personality. I just think
he was good last split, man. He looks like...
no, I agree. But I think Ssumday can be better than Huhi. We've seen it consistently throughout the times that we played against them. It's not always the case. It's not like a Glock guarantee. But I do think it can be that way. And I think we show up and have it happen again. Mid lane, let's see. Do they ban Karma or not? That's part B of this prediction. So there's a bit of hubris here.
I'm sorry. I just keep thinking about little Sebastian every time. Every time when he comes up, I don't get.
I love talking about Huhi because I know it's gonna make you laugh and have a fun time. So look, mid lane, do they ban Karma? I think they do. I think they're gonna ban Karma. Wow. And then I think we get to see Abba on somebody who is also good. So yeah, I think we're going to see a different look, and it'll be close. Like I'm not predicting that we blow them out or anything, but I think we have a good shot at it. So I'm going to go with us because I like to go with us.
Getting fairly granular with the predictions now of like whether or not they're going to ban Karma. Well, I'm going to double down
on lane is always better.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to double down on I don't think they ban Karma.
Okay.
So everyone wants to know where I'm going to come down on this. Guys, it's me. I have to do what I always do. Look, the thing is, it's going to be a dub for 100 Thieves. Yes! We're taking down TSM. It's going to happen. Look.
Ooh. It's the beginning of a new era.
Ordinarily, I would be tempted to do the Cole sandbag with this one and say we're going to lose. Look, I think momentum is a real thing. I really do. And I know that there's a week in between these things, but I just feel like the team just is riding a high together right now. And since it's the first game coming up this weekend, I think we're going to be able to ride that. And I get what you're saying too about like the matchups. I do think Speak is underrated. but yeah, it's just hard for me to feel like, you know, we're not going to have an advantage in one or two lanes at least, you know. So they can fight like crazy, but we can too when it comes down to it. So I don't know. I just get the feeling that this is a dub for us. And I don't think they're going to ban Karma, but I don't think we're going to play it either. So
they leave it open. We don't.
There's my ultra granular prediction.
Woo-hoo! Karma is the it feels like the ultimate like team diff champ, where you have enough players on your team who are far enough ahead that you just make them even better. And boy, we saw that play out. So I'll be interested to see.
Yeah. All right. So dubs, TSM dubs. Jordan, Saturday is Golden Guardians. Do they pull the upset off?
No, they don't. Are you kidding me? No, there's no way. There's no way. I'll say it. It's not even possible.
Don't curse it like that. Look, there's usually like, no, we got this. And be like, there's no way it's possible.
It would never happen. It could never happen.
Ablaze Olive is the scum of the earth. There's no way he can make Abbedagge look foolish. You just sealed our fate, man. Now I have to predict a loss.
Yeah, I was gonna dumpster him.
No, I agree though. I think we get the dub against Golden Guardians for reasons, you know. They're you know, they showed some fight this past weekend. They beat C9 and somehow, and then they looked okay at times, I guess.
C9.
But Jordan, do you know the real problem?
What's that?
Solo is in the top lane.
That's
most
another reason
swagless player NA. We get the dub. All right, moving on to EG on Sunday for game number 3. Jordan.
Yeah, we got them too. Look, it's not at this rate, Cole. I predict 3-0s every weekend until we start losing games. I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
We did lose this past weekend. You remember that, right?
No, I know. But we looked good doing it. Not really, but anyway, look, EG, they got their own issues they got to figure out. We're not going to help them with any of those things. This is going to be one of those situations where they don't like the outcome because they're going to lose.
Look, I'll say this. Yeah, I think we're going to win. I'm predicting 3-0 this weekend. Something that I want to see is I saw some people ranking GAing higher than Abbedagge.
Get that out of here.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. That's kind of my objective for this. Is I want Abbedagge. And look, let me say this. I don't have anything.
He's really just a support player.
I don't have anything against GAing. I actually like him quite a bit.
Yeah.
When he had the like vitality run at Worlds from, what was that? Was that 2018? Was that 18 or 19? I can't remember when that was. His run with vitality was super fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I've liked him since then, since the upside down RNG. I mean,
he's a fun player.
Yeah.
And he's fun to watch. I just don't think he's always that effective.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and that's the thing. I want Abbedagge to really prove that. Yeah. But yeah, so I think we get the win there. So Jordan, you and I both are locking in 3-0 for this weekend. We should get like a little sign or something, and like hit a button and 3-0.
Button that's confetti, fire, pyrotechnics.
Yeah, I'll get on that.
Put that in. We'll put it in post.
Yeah, right. 3-0s. I sure hope it is. And you know, if we are true to the 100 Thieves brand, we'll be back here next week talking about a 1-2 disappointing weekend, back to reality. But maybe this is different. We are a different team. We're a different team now. Got a different coach.
Definitely a different team.
We got the mid laner. All right.
It feels good, man. It feels good. I feel like I just have to end on that note to say, look, even again, last week, Cole, you said, I'm predicting a loss to C9, and if we lose to C9, I'm not going to be mad about it. That is how I feel right now. There's a lot of goodwill that's been generated in my heart by the way we played this game last weekend. And if that's how we continue to do this, I'm in.
Yeah.
I've been in the whole time. I've never gone anywhere, even when it's been not great.
Yeah.
And also when it's been very bad. But I'm like, this is exactly what you want, right?
Right.
This is it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like that I'm here for what we're doing right now, regardless. You know,
Totally.
so and look, I said this before the season started, right? I was like, to me, if we make Worlds this split, I'm super happy. It's like a bonus for me because I'm not really judging who we are until 2022. So if we pop off this split and make it, and that is so excellent, I'll be so proud. But like, I'm just not going to worry about it, you know, before that.
Yeah.
So,
and even if the process of learning who you are as a team, what your new identity is this fun, it's going to be a great ride, right?
Yeah.
Even if we drop games we should win and stumble and make mistakes, like if it's this fun again to be a 100 Thieves League of Legends fan, it's going to be a fun ride, right? Like however long the ride lasts. And I think there's reason to believe it could be quite a long ride because it feels like the pieces have finally fallen into place. It's a good spot.
So all hail our Lord and Savior, Abbedagge, Karmadagge. All hail our fearless leader, Reaper. And all hail our father, Papa.
Cool. And the United States immigration system, which has blessed us
with an additional import slot. Yeah.
That's all it took, Cole. All of those things coming together in this one fine moment is all it took. That's all it took for us to finally arrive at this point.
and all the chat said, and amen.
Exactly.
All right, guys, we'll be back to do this next week after the 3-0 weekend. We're actually going to be doing talk trios right after that. That's our LA Thieves show. If you're an audio listener, this is just on Twitch. We'll be dropping into Verdansk with some callers to talk LA Thieves. Hopefully we have enough callers because we didn't really give a ton of lead time on this. But regardless, we'll be playing some Warzone, despite my account being stolen, and going over some LA Thieves stuff, which is an entirely different vibe to the conversation than what's going on right now. So stick around for that if you're in Twitch chat. And get ready to play also if you want to join us and you're in Twitch chat. Sandwich, I'm looking at you. I see you in the chat.
If you've ever wanted to join a bot lobby, now's your chance.
Now's your chance. And then, we'll see you next week after the 3-0. Guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for the subs. Thanks for the follows. Thanks for being on our Discord. This has been fun. Hey, our 3rd birthday is coming up.
Woo!
And we'll be announcing a little bit of a contest / giveaway shortly that pertains to that. June 24th is the 3-year anniversary of this silly fan podcast. And after 3 years, we have not changed at all from saying we are idiots about League of Legends. Staying true to the brand.